Just when you thought the folks at Disney would not say anything less intelligent, anything less wise, the folks they're out there to try to best you and do what you thought they might never do. A writer for Inside Out 2 on the red carpet declaring that if you want to be a writer, you don't have to be a good writer. It doesn't matter. And turns out Riley, well, she's a self-insert for all the writing room that maybe, perhaps, was riddled with anxiety. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, the place where we keep changing hearts and minds simply by telling the truth, analysis the types of which you shall not find anywhere else. Although we love some of those other channels out there. We're talking about Valiant Renegade, Midnight's Edge, Yellow Flash. The list goes on, folks. But we are here to break down for you the breaking down of the writer's room, riddled with anxiety behind the scenes writing Inside Out 2. At least that's what they say. They say that they were riddled with anxiety as children, and they're bringing anxiety to the world, baby. They're giving us all anxiety. They love it. Oh, good grief. Folks, this is the kind of, well, video interview you can't believe. But let's go ahead and play it. Let's see what you think, and then let's hand it to the panel. Oy vey. Take a look at this. Variety has the video out for Inside Out 2. Here is the post/tweet. Apologies to Elon Musk for daring to call it a tweet. Inside Out 2 screenwriter Meg LeFauve talks about how her own experiences as a, quote, anxious kid helped inform Riley's story in the Pixar sequel. Jonas, before I even play this video, can you tell the folks out there why having anxiety be introduced to 5-year-olds is probably a bad idea?
Well, there's a concept in the medical community and also in the psychiatric community called atriogenesis, where sometimes the cure actually causes more problems than the disease itself. And specifically, when you try to tell someone that they need to get over their anxiety, they may not be aware that they have anxiety, or telling someone that is young, that is scared, that know that they don't have something that they're scared of. In fact, they have a disease that causes them to be scared, even when they shouldn't be scared. That can cause anxiety. It's like telling someone that they are in denial about their problems. It creates a doubt in their own mind about whether or not they actually have a problem. It's irresponsible to do a daily health check-in with a child and say, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And say it in that concerned way, because then that plants the seed of doubt in a child's mind that maybe they're not supposed to be doing okay. Is that a good? Well,
in that case, that's a perfect intro. It's a perfect intro. And folks, one of the reasons that we're concerned that the box office for Inside Out 2 might not be wonderful is because it's hard to sell to families the idea that their kids are going to be hugging on to anxiety plushies in 2 weeks. It's tough to get them to go buy the anxiety Happy Meal, if you get my drift. And all of this was totally unnecessary because Disney could have simply named this character Worry, and Worry would have been just fine. Nobody's going to be panicking about worry, because even little kids can be worried about things. But anxiety, that's a different story. So how do we get to the point where we have anxiety as a character in a movie aimed at 5-year-olds? We're about to watch the video to find out, folks. As we do, I just want to remind you that this Thursday at about 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to have a special edition of the Pro Show where I will be reviewing Inside Out 2. I'm going to go to the very first available showing, public, because we don't do quid pro quos here. We don't take early access to anything. So we'll watch it at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and then I'm going to rush to get in the studio to do the live show, and we'll do it then. Folks, here's what we have from Meg LeFauve, who is a screenwriter for Inside Out 2. Here's what she says.
You know, what is it like getting back into Riley's emotions and really getting a chance to explore, this complicated subject of anxiety and how to manage it, especially as a young person?
Well, I was an anxious kid. My father called me Moody Meg. And at the time, I thought something was wrong with me because I didn't understand that everybody had it. And I didn't understand that my imagination and my anxiety was also the writer that in me, the artist in me coming online, and it didn't have anywhere to go. So it was making up all kinds of stories. So as soon as I began to write and claim myself as just a writer. Not you don't have to be the best writer. You don't have to write well, but you have to. If that's what you are, you have to be yourself. And so that's what I love about this movie.
All right, so I want to play the last part one more time, and please don't be distracted by the young ladies to the bottom left who are having a very good time. But I want to play this one more time, folks. Pay attention to what she says about quality of writing. One more time.
Just in me coming online, and it didn't have anywhere to go, so it was making up all kinds of stories. So as soon as I began to write and claim myself as just a writer, not you don't have to be the best writer. You don't have to write well, but you have to. If that's what you are, you have to be yourself. And so that's what I love about this movie.
All right, so I don't want to make too much of something. At the same time, the idea that you don't have to be good at something and that you should just do it if it's who you are, that doesn't work in the real world. And so this person needs to consider that, if I hire a painter, they need to paint well. If I hire a plumber, they need to plumb well. Yes, we're talking about you out there, Mr. Buttcrack Media. We know you're the best. But this idea that you just do something, now, in the beginning, when you're learning to do a trade or you're learning to do something artful, okay. But that's not where you should stay. And I just don't know what to make. Am I making too much out of this, folks, or is this a little bit surprising or anti-surprising coming from Disney?
No, this is BS. And I want to say part of it is a consequence of being in the Hollywood bubble, so to speak, where you have people saying, oh, yeah, it's really good, even though behind your back, they're like, it's crap, but so-and-so likes them. So just go with it. Just let it go. I think it's so insulting, especially to the public who you want to consume your product, to actually say, it doesn't matter if I write good or whatever. It's just what I feel I want to do. I mean, how insulting is that? To expect people to do something like that.
No, it's a great question.
It breeds more of the same, because you said those people that say, well, it's really crap, but she sold it, so are saying, well, if that's what they want, maybe I should give them more of that instead of what I know is good. And it degrades the entire exercise across the board because it changes the standards of what's good and what's bad and what sells and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lou, when you were working all the time in Hollywood, was that ever a mantra that was accepted on any of the sets that you worked upon? That if you're not good at something, just keep doing it?
No. If you're not good, the mantra was, if you're not good at something, have negatives of the guy in charge's relatives doing things. But that'll show you how old I am. We actually had negatives. But anyway, no, this idea that, well, whatever I do must be wonderful because I did it, because I get a participation trophy, because everybody's wonderful. I'm wonderful. You're wonderful. But I got the gig. Ha ha. Come on. It's not a symptom of quote unquote Hollywood. It's a symptom of our highly technical term here, verkackte world that we live in. And YouTube can look that one up. But anyway.
Well, I think it's yet another stab against meritocracy. And I think these people are speaking out of their own way that they view the entire world. And they live in such a way that they have all the best amenities. And so they have these people really do have the prominence, the prestige, and perhaps even the good fortune to not care if they're good at something. But I'm going to tell you that if you live in poverty, you don't have that kind of ability, right? You need to actually be good at things to rise out of it. If you live in a third world country, you actually need to be good at things. You can't be a singer, if you're trying to rise out of being in a lower part of the socioeconomic status in the United States, you have a hard time rising out of that if you determine, hey, I'm going to be a singer and you can't sing. Culture, I see you've got a thought.
Well, no, I just think you guys are talking about the magical word, privilege. And I think that we're outlining the people who have it, who are also happen to be inside the industry. One of the actresses that's going to be in an upcoming, Alien TV show, something that we'll talk about today later on the HCast. She has privilege. Her dad was an actor on Friday Night Lights.
Wait, Culture. You're confusing me. Hang on. Culture, you're telling me that a woman is privileged.
Well, Yeah,
Hang
indeed.
on. All right.
Yeah.
You continue on. I'm going back to my gender studies textbook because it says that's impossible.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, we actually, Lorraine and I talk about this too, about Nepo babies and stuff like that. The nepotism in Hollywood and any other industry, by the way, not just Hollywood, but entertainment's things we talk about. Even what's her name? Christine Ritter. She talked about this very recently about her only getting or landing initial roles because of who her father was. This is not something that's new. And if you ask Lou Wasserman's Ghost, this is also how casting was handled way back in the day. It's the way the industry operates. So if you want to evenly say something is something, I would say that privilege exists in the Nepo babies. That's a form of privilege. And boy, they need to be checked on their privilege, right? Because that's what they would do.
Oh, and then the funnier part is when their famous father, mother, sibling, friend who gets in the gig, and they say, you got to work hard and do it all yourself after I get you the open door to do it through. They act like they're being real tough love parents by saying, well, I only got her 6 interviews with the head of the studio. I didn't get her 10. I'm a good father, honest.
Well, maybe they have to say this, though, because currently they're projected to make, and by the way, I think the projections are optimistic, but they're projected to make less than the original Inside Out. And that's in spite of the inflation of movie tickets in terms of the prices. So they're not in a great spot, and they've got to control the narrative. So surely, that's got to be taking a hit. You got to think, if you're doing a sequel, and you're going to be pulling in 70% of the original audience in the first weekend, and who knows after that, it cannot be a good feeling. It might set these people back, even if they're not willing to outwardly say it. It may come in these nascent forms of saying, well, even if you're not a good writer, you should be a writer. It's got to come out of you. It's who you are, darn it.
Well,
I
will say the one thing that's not being said here is it's okay if someone wants to write things that are horrible and they love them in and of themselves. It's a completely different thing when you need $150 million of movie to back that up.
God, I read a great article on that whole subject on that Park Place the other day, written by some ghosty guy about it's all well and good if you think you're a creative genius, but that doesn't mean it's going to pay the rent.
Exactly.
Accountability matters. Accountability matters. And the problem is that when it fails, what Disney traditionally, the new Disney tradition, the Iger tradition, they changed the terms of the engagement. In other words, you just said, gee, if it's only getting 70% of what it got, that's not good. They'll turn around and say, hey, we got 70% of what we got. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And either way, it doesn't pay the bills.
I'm just the only thing I'll say as a button on all of this, for me at least, is if you've got some 9-year-old that wants to write He-Man fan fiction or whatever, that's fine. Exercise your anxiety. I don't think that's anxiety, by the way. I think there's just so much.
It is for the parents who have to read it.
No, the thing that slipped by that I really want to, that gets in my craw, and I think Pro, that it bothers me to hear somebody say everyone has anxiety, and her anxiety was her inability to write, and she couldn't identify that it was her inability to write and get things done and have a creative outlet. These people, they're taking a mental health diagnosis and turning it into something that everyone has. Just like they want to say who you prefer to bed with is some kind of, it makes some statement about who you are, that it becomes your identity. No, everyone has stress. Everyone has stress. Not everyone has anxiety.
Wait a minute.
Anxiety is something that what?
Well, I mean, are you saying that these people are narcissists?
No, I think they're misguided, thoroughly misguided here. When they try to tell, especially when they try to tell 4-year-olds, which that's what the audience is for a Disney movie, whether or not Pixar wants to admit it yet. Pixar is making movies for teenagers and above, even though Disney Channel and below is capped out at 14 years old. Trying to tell everyone that anxiety is just a part of life is like telling everyone that a car payment is just a part of life. That's dangerous. And in fact, I feel like in both instances, someone is trying to sell something, possibly a medication or a car in the other instance here. This is the thing that bugs the living crap out of me about these people, that they feel that everyone has to be exactly like them, that they are in fact willing to accept their own problems and their own inadequacies because they had to do that in order to live their lives. Whereas my children are going to be taught about stress and getting past stress. And yes, sometimes you can be a little bit frazzled, if you want to use a phrase like that. But to say, no, that's like saying headaches are a part of life. No, that's something that you take an aspirin and you get past it. You don't dedicate your entire life to trying to come to an identity as a person who is part of the headache suffering community.
And what happens is you become somebody who cannot tell whether you should be taking an aspirin or getting a CAT scan because you've got a brain tumor. It's all headaches.
Right. Well, Andre,
Agreed.
let me go to you and ask. Andre, do you have a read on how you think Inside Out 2 is going to perform relative to prior Disney animated films?
I think this is going to be another disaster, just like the other most recent animated Disney films. And we can see exactly why in this interview right here. As you all pointed out, here's a woman who's talking about, my identity, my experience, my anxiety.
Me.
You don't really have to be a good writer. That's not necessary for these things. You just have to be authentic to yourself. Because what are we if not self-inserts into the story? This is obviously going to be a disaster, right? I do not think that any kind of goodwill from the first Inside Out movie is going to be able to outmaneuver the bad will surrounding the Disney brand right now. I think everyone who saw the first Inside Out and remembers it knows that it's a different Disney right now. And because these would be the same people that went to see all of the most recent Disney movies as well. If they went to see Strange World, they would have been burned as hell on that. If they saw Wish, they would have been bored to tears by that. They would have been basically burnt and bored by everything that has come out recently. Why would anyone think, Inside Out 2, everything is different now? Well, anyone who thinks that are going to get a reality check the moment they see this. Word of mouth is going to be horrible. There's no reason at all to be optimistic about this. This woman right here just let everyone know, you don't have to see this, because here you have a woman with mental health issues, and she injected that into the story. There was no need to be a good writer, because it's just the self-insert of the crazy people in Disney that all have mental issues, and that's what made up this movie. It's going
And look
to
at
be a
how
disaster.
happy she is about it.
Of course, she's so
Look
proud.
at the smiles.
Yeah,
I'm sick. Aren't I wonderful? And I got Disney to pay the $400 million.
You have to
therapy.
understand though. You have to understand though that she comes from a bubble where apparently there's like social credit in how mentally sick you are, and everyone has a therapist, and their therapists have a therapist. They see this as completely normal, and people inside of a bubble don't necessarily realize that they are in a bubble. Of course, for the rest of us on the outside, we can see that they're practically in North Korea on American soil in terms of just how bad bubble dwellers they are. But they don't know that. They don't see it that way. And so they make this kind of stuff that resonates with them, and they have no idea how just unwatchable it is to everyone else because they're in an echo chamber.
But somebody on top is supposed to know better and say no. And instead, let's wait by some more money.
Well, they fired him, and now he's over at Skydance.
And folks, we want to thank you for being here with us today. If you have not yet subscribed, not only to this channel, but to our very brand new channel, just started, that is our first step into original content, go check out at Vacation Radio. Vacation Radio on YouTube. Go check it out. 24/7 radio station. Every single song, the lyrics are by me. Every single song. We've been working on this for a very long time in secret. It's our first step. We could have done a graphic novel. We could have done a book. We could have done many different things. We're electing to step into this with a radio station. More than 60 songs, original content, playing every day, all hours of the day. All right, folks, it's now time for your way of helping us spread the word on this. Click the like button, share, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.